Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk podcast, and we are the ACC champs. Now, at least co-champs for this point. Obviously, we have the second matchup with Duke coming up on Saturday. They will determine if we can get an outright uh, ACC regular season championship or not. But we have at least a share of it, and where we've been the last couple of years, we'll take it. It's a good one. I'm excited. I was just kind of going through preseason predictions, and if we win Saturday against Duke, I'll only be one game off. And there's a couple other people there in this kind of the same boat. But I was going to give a quick shout out here to it's at Bills Mafia on Twitter. No, sorry, Bills Mafia is his name. It's at Bills0327 on Twitter. He says we were going to be 26-5 ACC champs, ACC tournament runner up, and lose in the Final Four. So if we can beat Duke, I guess he was one off. We would be 25-6 instead of 26-5. But so there's a couple other people with that same record, me being one of them. But and I also said we would go 2-1 in the ACC tournament, which would be us losing in the championship game as well. So hopefully that's not to Duke. If we do, I guess we'd get 2 out of 3 if we did that. But that would give them, I'm sure they would then claim the ACC tournament, champs and all that junk. But exciting time. I know, again, I say it every time, so I'm not gonna this time, but it's been too long since we podcasted and all this. Is trying to figure out what game it was last that I'd podcasted from, or after. So that was kind of sad and depressing. But since then, and maybe me taking the break from the podcast is what's got us going. So I'll be superstitious that way. But I do appreciate people that jump in here. The Nintendo Nerd was already in here. He said, "So happy a banner in the rafters. Now it's time to prove we're the only ones deserving it on Saturday." And we'll get to that game, of course. But appreciate people that jump in here live. If you ever want to join a live YouTube recording of the podcast, just make sure you go over to youtube.com/UNC Hoops Talk and subscribe, and then hit the little bell so you get the notification when we go live. Yeah, it's I feel like we're kind of back on track here. The last podcast I had named it kind of we're back on the roller coaster. I feel like now we're stringing stuff together. We're looking good heading into obviously March and into tournament time. So that's obviously very exciting. And since we did last podcast, just to kind of run through them, we won't go through all the scores and box scores and all that stuff. But a good solid win against Virginia Tech. I think Tyler Nickel, I believe when I looked at it, had a pretty solid game, but we had a 15-point win or something like that. After Virginia Tech came Virginia, again, 10-point win. So that's really about a 25-point win since it's against Virginia, and solid win at their place as well. And then we came home, and it was the RJ Davis game against Miami. Obviously, it's been talked about plenty. Kind of solidified him probably as ACC Player of the Year. At least it should have. 42 points there, and just kind of went off. That was fun, and will be a great memory from this year, especially when we cap it off with something special here in March. But and then just this last weekend, NC State came to the Smith Center, and we took down those Wolfies. That was a 79-70 win. Good solid win. I don't know if it was spectacular. We had 4 guys at double figures. Harrison Ingram had a nice game. I guess I just heard on the Carolina Insider Pod this morning it was his career or his season high. So that was good. Cadeau had a great game, stuff in the stat sheet: 15 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal. And then RJ, 14 and 7 and 5, but solid game. Just, I guess we would say below his standard for this year, but um, good game from him. Baycott as well, 13 and 7. And that was one thing I was kind of thinking previously, and I don't know if this disproves my thoughts, but I just feel like when we had struggled, when we were kind of up and down, is we could never get consistency from everybody. It was, RJ going off for 42, or RJ was struggling and then Armando had a good game, or, Cormac Ryan was shooting the ball well, but then RJ had an off game. And then when RJ's knocking stuff down, Cormac was not shooting well. He didn't shoot great against NC State. He was 1 for 3. I think he ended up fouling out as well, but good defensive game, and it just seemed to more, at least that one, we had 4 guys in double figures, with Cadeau attacking, and then Harrison Ingram was back to knocking down some threes and being aggressive, hitting free throws and that kind of stuff. And Armando was efficient, I guess not super efficient, 4 for 12. But then RJ was, at least a solid. I again, as much fun as it was to watch RJ go off for 42, I think what's sustainable for us to go farther in the tournament would be having the consistency and having more guys. And again, Notre Dame was not good, but tonight kind of showed that as well. It seemed like everybody. Again, I think tonight was a little bit of an anomaly. So, I'm not taking this one and just totally running with it, but we had Armando hitting 2 threes, so that's pretty unusual. He ended up with 14. So if you take away his 2 threes, he's only at 8. But RJ at 22, which again, kind of right at his average. It's not way up at 42 where nobody else is in double figures. But good game from, and he was efficient, 9 for 15 shooting, 4 for 6 from the 3-point line. But then we also had Cormac had 14 points, 2 for 5, so it wasn't spectacular from three or anything, but solid and good. Harrison Ingram didn't shoot as well. He's 1 for 8 from the 3-point line, but still 11 points and then 14 rebounds, kind of what we've been getting used to, him providing 4 assists for him as well. And then Jalen Washington off the bench, 10 points. Even Seth Tremble, 6 points. Elliot Cadeau, I guess technically off the bench tonight too, but 4 points, but also 5 rebounds, couple assists, a few steals in this one. Jalen Withers, a few points. That kind of stuff is much more of what I would like to see going forward. And obviously, again, tonight was an anomaly. We blew out Notre Dame 84-51, but like I said, it does clinch at least co-champs for the North Carolina Tar Heels in 23-24 season, and we'll take it. And then now we look forward to Duke on Saturday, and obviously that's something else we'll talk about. So we got the big fella in here tonight. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you in here. He says Baycott from 3 was tough. Yeah, if he can replicate that, we'll take it, and it'll be a new little string in our offense there. But I don't know if we're gonna look for him to shoot many more of those this season. Then he also says Jalen Washington looked fantastic. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about on the podcast here before is we'd like to see him get more minutes. I know there has been moments where he's seemed overwhelmed or just not strong enough, not quick enough laterally, some of those kind of things. But look good tonight, and um, you know, again, not tonight was an anomaly, but he's looked good. He's looked solid, and now we just need to keep improving. So, yeah, Duke also just blew out. Who did they play last night? Um, Played State over the weekend and beat them pretty easily. And then they won pretty easily last night as well. And I'm forgetting who it was. So we both have a couple of rest days and then some good practice days or whatever it may be, getting stuff tightened up for the big matchup on Saturday. So if you haven't seen it on ESPN, or if you just don't know, if you live under a rock or something like that, we play Duke in Cameron Saturday. It's a 6:30 p.m. Eastern tip on ESPN. Again, I guess it's their marquee matchup. For whatever reason, we're going into an NBA game after this one, but it's a solid spot, I guess. For me, it's kind of I'm an hour earlier in Central Time, 5:30, so right around supper time. But eat a little early supper and sit down and get ready for the game. And then obviously we either have a 1 or a 2 seed going into the ACC tournament, which obviously the 1 seed is nice to just say that you're the champs, but really the biggest thing is to get the double bye, so you don't play till Thursday. And again, sure, we'd like to win the ACC tournament and raise another banner for that. But really, as we've gotten kind of accustomed to as Target fans, is not to worry as much about the ACC tournament. Just be playing well, But if we do drop one, getting our sights set and getting ready for the NCAA tournament, obviously starting that next week. So that's kind of where we're at. Again, I know it's been a long time, and I kind of flew through some of those games, probably missing some of the highlights of the season in there. But that puts us on a streak of what, one, two, three, four, 5 game winning streak. We had a 10 game winning streak earlier. If we say we did that, that would put us far enough into it with the ACC tournament. We don't want to say we're gonna be stuck in a 10 game winning streak, but yeah, I think we are back on track. I think hopefully the guys are, obviously focused now that we're going into, March and tournament time, and um, hopefully ready to go. They're looking that way, and we've talked about it early in the season, and especially when we were rolling early there in January or whenever it was. Um, that we have a bunch of guys on this team that haven't experienced the success, and that's why they're here on this team. Cormac Ryan came from a losing situation. Jalen Withers, Harrison Ingram, and then obviously from high school, we have Cadeau, should be hungry to have some of that success, and then we have RJ and Baycott who have been there, but hopefully are hungry enough to go back and even finish the job off. So, exciting times going into March here. This is about as much as you can ask for. Obviously, UConn and Purdue being up there as kind of one seeds, or Houston even as the overall number one seed. You'd take that every day and for sure. But we got a top 10 team here. We've got at least a share of our conference. We're looking really good going into tournament play. It would be fantastic to finish it off against Duke, and I guess we'll kind of see. I don't know. I don't think the Duke game says much. We're going into their place. We got. I do think the guys will be excited to try to win the ACC out, and so they're going in hard. I'm not saying they're just going to do whatever and not try to win. It's Duke anyway. Even if the ACC outright regular season championship wasn't on the line, they'd still go at Duke with everything they have. But I think that gives them a little more motivation to beat Duke, because they don't want to share it with them, especially since it would be Duke that we share it with. Uh, so that we got that going for us. But even if we do lose, it doesn't take our hopefully it doesn't take our focus off any the real goal of this team and in March Madness. So yeah, we're kind of sitting good. That's we're playing with house money here the rest of the regular season, and even the ACC tournament, and then we're getting ready. And I think that I'm gonna try to go to, obviously, if you don't know, I live in Tennessee. We're gonna try to go over to the Memphis. I don't know if we'll make the first round, but the second round games there, round of 32. I guess technically that's like round three or whatever now because of the playing games. But we're gonna try to get over there with my son, and it'd be great to see the Tar Heels go there. But obviously, we'd like to, I don't know if it's Greensboro or where it is in North Carolina. They could go to stay closer to home, but we would definitely take them here in Tennessee and cheer them on. But just excited for obviously this time of year. We got the Duke game, and then we got tournament time. And it's a great time. We start to get day basketball on those Thursday, Fridays, and there's just nothing that beats it. So definitely excited here, ramped up, and I guess I don't know. Talk about Duke a little bit more. Someone was kind of asking, like, you're saying something about them. It's like they really don't scare me. Obviously, I think they can beat us. They're a good team, but even as far as not playing against us, but winning it all, they don't really scare me. Because obviously we want North Carolina to win. If they don't win, we'll make sure that Duke doesn't win, and then you can kind of pick off storylines or whatever from there of who you want to win or think's going to win and stuff like that. But they really don't scare me as a team that's going to win 6 games in 3 weeks. I don't know. Again, they probably have the talent to. They do have, Roach, who is older, to lead the team. They got Filipowski in kind of an all-American role. The young kid McLean is coming on strong. Proctor has his moments and all that stuff, so they kind of have it. But I don't know. I just don't feel real threatened by them. So hopefully, I'm not jinxing that, and they go on some crazy run and whatever. But um, Saturday will be interesting. Obviously, they're playing for a share of the ACC regular season. We're playing to win it outright, and beyond that, it's just Duke, North Carolina. So I don't know. I know it's only Tuesday, but I'm ready for that game already. I hope the guys are, and we'll go see what happens there. But um, yeah, and this is kind of a short one, but catching up on stuff, and hopefully here as we go through the tournament, I'll be able to podcast a little bit more. I know it's probably been a couple years since we've done it, but we've done some kind of late night after after the heels play or after all the games are over, kind of just talking about the tournament and the games that have happened and stuff like that. So again, if you're listening to this other places, if you'd like to kind of jump in and comment as we're doing that live on YouTube, make sure you go over to UNC Hoops Talk on YouTube and subscribe, and then hit the bell so you get the notification when we go live. And if not, connect with me on Twitter, Instagram, and just chat it up as the games are going on and all that good stuff. And um, a- appreciate the support from YouTube, but also through all the podcast apps and stuff like that. And just keep sharing the podcast with other Tar Heel fans. My goal here, as I've always said, is kind of unite Tar Heel Nation, and just cheer the guys on. We'll be biased, but we'll also be realistic when we have to be. So that's kind of the goal of this podcast. Um, and yeah, appreciate the love and the listens and the downloads and that kind of stuff. But I think we're gonna close it out there. ACC champs for the Tar Heels, looking to get it outright against Duke on Saturday. Um, and yeah, best time of the year. Until next time, go Heels.